Melanie, how are you?
I'm fine. I'm great. How are you?
I'm doing amazing, and thank you very much for taking out your time. And how is the weather in Europe now?
It's raining. It's very sad. We had a lot of snow, so which was awesome, and now everything's gone since this morning. So I'm
Oh,
a bit
that's
sad,
great.
but all the better, so I can be here and enjoy the conference the entire day.
That's great. So now the mic is with you. You can introduce yourself, and you can talk with us on the topic that you feel is more closer to your heart.
Awesome. Then I'm going to get started. Yeah, hi everyone. I'm going to jump right into it. What is the one thing smart women like all of you who are here have in common? You have to work harder, you have to be smarter, and let's face it, you basically have to be more in everything to have your voice be heard. Is that fair? No. Can you do something about it? Yes. So my name is Melanie Goel. I sit here in my living room in Germany, and I help individuals and businesses to get their voices be heard. Over the last 7 years, I've been working in branding at companies like Tesla and startups, like bigger and smaller, and of course in my own branding business as well. And what I've developed over those 7 years is a branding strategy. I call it a bottom-up branding strategy that basically helps you to put yourself on the map, like to make your voice be heard. And that strategy really highlights what makes you unique and what sets you apart. It helps you to highlight exactly what you bring to the table and how that is different from all the other people. This is how you make your voice be heard, right? Because you show what unique composition of values and personality and experience and skills you bring to the table, and that is always unique because everyone's unique composition is different, and we should be proud of that. So, and the strategy, I'm going to talk about it a little bit because I want you to walk away from this conversation or from this talk with actionable advice and a first toolkit that will help you make your voice be heard. And if you want to have more, there's more. I've written all the things you need to know about personal branding and yeah, making your voice be heard, and down in a book. It's called Unique: 6 Simple Steps to Creating a Highly Effective Personal Brand. And you can find it on Amazon. Just search for Melanie Goel and Unique, and you're going to find it right there. But we only have 15 minutes, and so let's make that time count. I'm going to jump right into it. So I think we all know in order to have our voices be heard, personal branding is important, and in a highly skilled audience like this one, I don't have to explain why. But I think what we can do is talk about how we can make it better. Because let's face it, there are these people out there who just somehow seem to get everything, and you may work harder and more and longer, and you're not getting there exactly. And the unique thing about these people is that they figured out how to highlight their skills and their unique composition in a way that people see that people listen to it, and that yeah, that they basically catch attention. And by catching attention, that's a door opener. So you basically, what you need to achieve is that you get this door opener, that someone gives you its attention and listens to you. And the crucial thing about personal branding is that you make this short attention span work for you. You have to make that count. And how do you make that short attention span count? You have to explain the most important, or summarize the most important things about you in a very concise and short message. I'm going to go into this a little bit later, but the big question, and I know that because personal branding or branding itself is so vague, and you can talk about, oh, you need to have this short message, But the big and the most difficult part of this is like, how do you get to this message, right? So how do you get there? This is the crucial part and the difficult part. It's hard work, and but I'm going to give you the most important tools in this talk today that you can get started on it. Believe me. So then let's go into it. So why did I call this a bottom-up strategy? Bottom-up and is basically that we first look, or I also sometimes call it inside out. It's basically you first look who you are instead of looking outside. So Simon Sinek, he has this really amazing quote, and it's called, "To stand out, you need to know what you stand for." This really sums up what the inside out or bottom up branding strategy means. And the reason is, and trust me, I've done this like a million times before I understood how to do personal branding the right way. So what we usually do is we go out and we see people who are super successful, and we think, oh, awesome, let me replicate this. Let me replicate how this person, because it worked for that person, it should be working for me too. And then we just research how that person got so successful. We read books and we read articles, and then we try to replicate it, and it doesn't work. Why does it not work? Because that particular strategy worked for their particular personal setting. So personal branding is called personal branding because it's personal. So everyone's or each individual or our individual success depends on our individual setting, like our values, our personality, our skills, our experience. So that combination is that unique setting. And you can use a similar you can use the same strategy, like what I'm doing now, but it doesn't necessarily mean that if that person was communicating that way or using that particular social media tool or that kind of design, that it's going to work for you as well, because in the end it has to be authentic, and if it's not, then it's just not successful, right? So that way your voice is not be heard. Instead, your voice is kind of it's lacking authenticity. So how do we get there? How do we get to that strategy, and how can you make sure that you have an authentic and consistent personal setting, and how do we even understand what your personal setting is? So this is what we're going to do now for the next few minutes. Let's start with one thing. The bottom-up strategy bottom-up personal branding strategy for making your voice be heard starts with goal setting. So in order to understand, or you need a strong foundation in order to have an authentic personal brand, an authentic voice and image. And that base layer, I would call it, is your goal. So if you want to have a personal brand, you need to understand what you want to have it for. So what's the purpose of it? What do you want to achieve, and what are your expectations of your personal brand? What do you expect to happen? So if your goal might be a promotion or getting money from an investor or something like that, it's important that you have to visualize first what that goal is. So where exactly should your personal brand help you achieve something, and what should it help you achieve? So this is the first question you have to ask. The next one is the reality check. So you check, okay, where do you stand today? What have you tried already in terms of that goal? Is there a gap between where you are right now, for example, in terms of skills or experience or anything, and the goal that you want to achieve? And what do you need to do to bridge that? So this is your reality check that you, at the beginning of your personal branding journey, you really have an honest and objective view of where you're standing. In the next step, you're thinking about your options. So you think like, okay, how can I do things if I've tried something before, if I've tried to approach investors, for example, or try on social media or whatever. How can I do things differently than I've done them before? Who could help me? For example, a consultant or something, or a coach. And then list everything that you can imagine. Maybe try to aim 10 things that your options. What can you do? And lastly, you have to think about your bill. Like, how invested are you in that goal, and how invested are you in using a personal brand, developing a personal brand in order to achieve that? Which of the options do you want to pursue, and which one do you think has the highest likelihood of succeeding? So this is the first part. This is the goal setting part. Try to not skip this, because it's quite important too, because you can always come back. You need to have a framework within your which you need to know that you're going in the right direction. So if you say, I want to I want to get an investor for my business, or I want to have a promotion, then make sure that you align all these things, that you know what's missing and what the reason might be that it hasn't worked so far. And the next step in the strategy is your value setting. So this is really important. I think this is one of the most important parts. And this is also so important in your entire voice development, because let's face it, skills are the bottom line. So if you are talking to an investor, or if you're talking to a company, having the skills to run the business, build the business, scale the business, or join that company, that's a given. I mean, people don't necessarily say it, but it's a given. They choose the personality that they think is going to actually make it happen. A personality where they think, okay, this person is worth investing in. This person brings everything apart from the skills, because all the people that they will talk to in the last round are going to have the skills. But whatever you bring from your personality side, this is going to be the decisive factor in the end. So what you can do here, because the value exercise is very difficult, I think I've done it like 7 times. There is a bias of first choosing values that sound really amazing. So do that exercise over and over again to actually come to the one that are the most authentic to you. You can go on my website, melaniegoel.com. There is an worksheet area, and you can download the one for values. But you can also, if you don't want to do that, you can also do another one. So think about leaving a room. In that room, there are a lot of people who are important to you, and business-wise, personal-wise. And if you leave the room, think about what are the 3 words that they are saying after Melanie is. So what do I want people to say about me in 3 words when I leave the room? How do I want people to perceive who I am? So this is on really the personality value level. And then ask yourself as the next question, what is the one thing you want to be known for? This might be more on I would say performance level maybe, or something else. It could also be a value, but for example, you might want to be known for someone who adapts really quickly to new topics or things like that. So this is really one of the things that you should think about. So you have in the values, think about the 3 words you want to be described as, and then think as one bigger aspect you want to be known for. And so this is really important, because, and then if you went through this exercise, think about, are these values that you decided, are these values that kind of influence your decision making? So our core values, which really represent how we are conducting ourselves in public, how people experience who we are, these values usually also affect all the decisions that we're making. So for example, for me, one of the important things is being creative. Being creative is really something that influences all my decisions. It decides if I want to take a job or if I don't want to take a job. Can I be creative there? Can I not be creative there? And things like that. So this is something you should keep in mind. So why do we spend so much time on the value part? The reason is what I just mentioned. So if we're building an image, if we're creating a voice, it has to be a voice that really represents how people experience you. So this is really important. And what I want to say here, I think this is where personal branding got sidetracked in the last years. I think personal branding now has this image of creating fake personalities. We see that on Instagram, for example, where we have a lot of happy, smiling people. But if you're creating a fake image, that is prone for mistakes, I would say, because let's say you have a bad day and then you forget about something that you've decided for your image, then it's being inconsistent and people start thinking like, okay, she's just lying all the time. Like, who is that person really? So in a business sense, make sure that the values are really something that you can hold up every day, something that's really so unique, like it's so real and authentic to you that you don't really even think about it that much, because now we're getting to building an image. So that image that you're creating, you're thinking about how does a person with those values, what kind of attitude does it have? What kind of communication style does it have? How does a person react? So for me, it's always more of a laid back, of a colloquial way of communicating with people. This is very real and authentic to me. So I also keep that up all the time, because if you want to get your voice be heard, you have to repeat, like people have to have the same experience over and over again, right? So people need to experience you the same way. And at some point, they don't even have to read your name. They say, oh yeah, this message is from Melanie, because they know exactly how I sound. So this is the goal of having your voice be heard, that you are so consistent. And in order to be so consistent, you have to figure out exactly the authentic values, but also creating the whole framework of how you're communicating, how your attitude is, and how you're communicating. So for that, I have another exercise, and I think I don't have a lot of time left. I don't want to take up time from the other people because everyone has so many amazing things to say today. So I have one last exercise that I want to share, and that is a brand message stacking. This is a bit similar to an elevator pitch, but it's a bit more intense, I would say. So in the brand message stacking, think about you're entering an elevator with a person who is crucial to your goal. And then think about, okay, that elevator, you don't know how long that person's going to be in the elevator. From one floor to the other, you have exactly 15 seconds. There's a reason, because Snapchat is 15 seconds. Insta stories are 15 seconds. This is our normal attention span today. So we want to use that. And now you don't know when the person's getting off. So what you have to do is within the first 15 seconds, you have to say everything that's important about who you are. You have to make it catchy so that the person wants to look you up. And you have to say something that the person knows where to look you up. So these are the important things. And then if the person doesn't get off on the first floor, you now stack the next most important message on top, and then the next most important. Maximum 1 minute, so 60 seconds for 4 floors, let's say, because you want to leave enough time for the other person to talk and ask questions, or you to ask questions and show interest. So this is in a nutshell. There's a lot more to say and a lot more to share. Feel free to text me afterwards. You can find me on Twitter at Goel_Melanie. You can write me an email at mg@melaniegoel.com. You can find my book on Amazon or just check out my website, which is melaniegoel.com. And there is so much more, and I'm happy to help if there are more questions.
That's so nice of you. I think with your knowledge, a lot of women has got a lot of value. I just have a quick question out of your discussion. We're running out of time, but it's out of my curiosity.
Yeah.
I saw a lot of profiles on LinkedIn, which is, international speaker, award winning, this and that. And when I see them myself, I feel that there is a gap between the way they are branding and the way they are, So do you think that there is a bit of over branding in the market and it's really not healthy for their reputation, or what are your comments about it?
Absolutely, you totally nailed it. That's the entire reason why I also mentioned in the beginning that there are some people who are really successful because they do the right branding, and then there are people who are just copying and thinking they can achieve the same thing. But you can really feel when someone does branding right. Like, let's take Simon Sinek, for example. He doesn't have to do a lot, and you just believe him. You believe that he knows all these things, and that's the way that he conducts himself, and he's always consistent. You always experience the same thing. And that gap that you mentioned, that's exactly how you can spot people who are trying to copy someone else and think that they can replicate the success recipe.
Very nice observations. And I think that we should sometime plan a full broadcast with you, maybe 50 minutes, and we should enlighten the women. I'm always concerned that there are people, of course, they can pay and get the service, but there are a lot of women who left their jobs and there is no other job available, and they transform themselves into a businesswoman. And I think it's a professional contribution for them that we can enlighten them, at least some techniques for CSR, like our corporate social responsibility, our contribution to the community. And I'm sure that we are on the same page.
I would love that. They deserve it the most.
That's great. With this, I want to thank you for joining us, and I'm looking forward to have you in my other shows.
Awesome. Thanks for having me.